Okay, welcome. We are going to make a very quick example program. You're going to see simple program implemented in Visual Studio and C#. I've started up a new project. I've called it Calculator Cricket version 1.2. I did that by going New, Project, and this one we're going to make a console application because it's quite a simple one. It's not going to have any visual elements to it. It's just going to be based in a console or terminal, whatever you want to think of it as. So Calculator Cricket, for those that don't know, is a game we often played on a calculator where you use a random number, you generate a random number, and based on that number, somebody either scores runs, gets out, and that kind of thing. And you can play a little game of cricket with it. So I've created a flowchart to illustrate what happens for Calculator Cricket. So first of all, we begin our algorithm at the top, the representation of begin. We do some setup, so we're going to set up some variables and business like that. And then we're going to do this generate random number, which is our major driver for the game. So it generates a random number. Is it a 0? That's a check, an if statement. Is that number a 0? If it's not, we're going to check if it is between 0 and 7. So if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 6, we are interested in using those for runs. If that's a yes, we update the score and then we generate a random number. If the answer is no, and I should have put no down there, if the answer to that question is no, then we just discard the answer and we generate a new random number because it's not a 0, it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a 6, it's a 7, 8, or a 9, and that's not a score that we're interested in using. Okay, so we've generated another random number, and this time it is a 0, so someone has got out. So if it's a 0, we're going to run the batter out routine. So that's a method we're going to create. We also need to do a check to see if the team number, i.e. the number of batters in the team, has reached less than 1, i.e. has the team all got out. If that is a no, if there are still batters in the team, then we're going to go no, and we're going to go generate random number. So we've already progressed the batter list, and we're just going back to generate number. The new batter is now batting. However, if the team has reached less than 1, we're going to check, is team 1 batting? If team 1 was batting, then we're going to switch the teams. If that's a yes, we're switching the team. So team 2 is now batting, and the first batter in team 2 is now batting. We generate a random number. Now, if that was a 0, the batter was out, the team was less than 1, it was actually team 2 that was batting. So team 1 is not batting. That is not true. It's no. Team 2 is batting. It's game over. Okay. If we're out of players on team 2, it's game over. Team 2 is the last team that's going to bat. Okay. So that is the general structure. It's a simple one. You can improve it. You can extend it. But that's the general structure that we're going with. Okay. So we're into our programming stuff. I'm just going to illustrate what this main method is all about. That's where we start our program. That's where the program kicks off. So if you want to do anything, you can do it in here. So for example, if I type in console, you'll see that it prompts me with some things here. I can go console.writeLine, and that is going to print something onto the console. So I can go hello world, just to be cheesy. Okay, so we're going to print hello world. Now, if I want to start the program, if I click on start up here, it's going to run the program. It's going to come into my main method, and it's going to run whatever is in that main method first. It's going to look to that main method first. Okay? And eventually it will run. Come on. There it goes, and it ran. And now it kind of popped up and then went away. We didn't really get a chance to see what we'd written. So if you go to debug and you go start debugging, no, start without debugging, the console will remain after it has finished, and you have to press a key to continue, which is quite useful. So you can see it's printed out hello world. We can press any key to continue, and we're away. So we can see this is where it starts, okay? Now, we're going to do some setup. We're going to put some variables. Now, variables are where we store things that we want to refer to later. So, for example, I might want to store a team name. Yeah? but I need it for both teams. So I'm going to go team1 name. But first of all, actually, I need to say what type of variable it is. So I need to say it's actually a string. It's called team1 name, and it's equal to the value calculated risk. That's my team name. It's really lame. There we go. So team1 name is calculated risk. String team2 name equals team. Very nice. Okay, so we've got our team names in there. We need a few other bits and pieces. So, for example, we're going to need to be able to keep score. Now, that's not going to be a string, because a string is something that stores words or characters. So I could have numbers in there as well. But it's not about storing numbers. I can't do mathematics on strings or anything like that. They're words. But things like scores, I need to do maths on. So I'm going to make it an integer, team1 score, and I'm going to start it at 0. You'll notice that I'm finishing every statement with one of these semicolons. And team2 score equals 0. Boom. Now, you'll quite often make the mistake of missing a capital letter or something like that, and it will screw you over. So you just need to be aware that it's got to match. Anytime you're using a variable, it's got to match. Okay, so what else do we need to know? We need to have a team1 batter list, or a team1 batters. It's going to start at 10. And it's going to make its way towards 0 as batters get out. 10. Boom. Okay, so we're starting to progress. Now, we also want to know who is batting. So, batting team is going to be 1 to start with. It's always going to be 1 first, then it's going to progress to 2. But we're going to keep track of that. Okay? Let's see, what else do we need to do? I'm just going to pause this. So we've got a couple of other ones that we need to do. I'm going to make a loop in this main method down here. It's going to be a loop that says while something is true. So it's a while loop. While this condition is true, I want you to do some stuff. Okay? So the condition that I'm going to do is I'm going to go team1 batted whilst that equals false, while team1 hasn't batted. And if I go double pipe, yeah, that equals the word or the operation or. So whilst team1 hasn't batted, or team2 batted equals false. So if either of the team is still to bat or still in the process of batting, I want to run this loop. Okay, but I need to set these variables up first. So I'm going to go bool for boolean. So that's a true or false. So team1 batted equals false to start with. Bool team2 batted equals false to start with. So they haven't batted in the setup. And whilst one of those is still equal to false, it will run my my loop. But as soon as both of them are set to true, if neither one of them is false, it's no longer going to run this loop. And the loop is this loop here, the generate random number and move through this thing here. Yep, it's the loop, the main loop that drives everything else. So this is the really important loop, and we want it to stop running as soon as our two teams have batted. Okay, so our main loop is away. Now the first step of our main loop is to generate a random number. Okay, so we're going to see how we do that. So first of all, we have these things called libraries. If I type in the word random, you see it comes up in a slightly different color. It's a library of code that has already been written that I can use to do things in my own code. So for instance, generating a random number, we could write that code ourselves, but it would be quite a painstaking process. Somebody has already written a really good algorithm to do that for us, and we're just going to use that code. So we're going to go random, which is the class we want to access, or the library we want to access, and we're going to give it a name, or we're going to create an object called rnd. So class and then name equals new random, boom, like that. So I've made an object, and this object gives me access to all of the code that's inside the class or library random. Okay, so what I can do is then I can go rnd dot, and these are all of the random methods that I could use. So I could get equals, I could ask it get type, or I could go next. Next is the method we're using. I'm going to go bracket, and you can see it's got one of three. Integer random.next returns a non-negative random integer, so a positive random integer. If I go down, I could put in a maximum value. If I go down, I can also put in a minimum value and maximum value. So returns a random integer that is within a specified range. So I'm going to go random between 0, comma, and the max value, the exclusive upper bound of the random number returned. So if I go 7, I can actually get a random value between 0 and 7. Boom, and there we go. Now I'm getting a few errors. You can see an object reference is required for a non-static field or method. One thing that I've figured out needs to happen is we actually need to have the word static in front of our variables, just like it's got the word static in front of our main method here. Okay, and that's going to take care of that problem. So we've got these underlined as well. Same deal. So if I go team batted, where are you? Team batted static, you can see that error disappears. So I could have all of my code in this main method here, but that's going to cause a few issues. It's going to be a messy program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a few other methods. So there's the end of my main, method. Okay, so outside of there, I'm going to create my own static, and this one's going to return something at the end. So it's going to be an integer return. So it's not going to be void, it's going to be integer. And this is going to be gen rand number. Okay, put the brackets after it, so that indicates it's a method or a little minion. It's going to do something for me. And in here, what it's going to do, it's going to have an integer variable called ball, and it's going to use the random object to use the next from the random class, and we're going between 0 and 7. Okay, so what happens is the random object goes and gets the next method and runs it and returns a value between 0 and 7 and stores it in this variable that I've called ball. Okay, and I'm then going to return ball. So the method is going to exit and it's going to return the value back up here. So I'm going to go generate random number. So I'm going to run that method. That method is going to return a value. It's going to return the random number. So I probably want to store that. I'm going to store that integer. Integer, and we're going to call this random equals generate random number. So the result of generate random number is going to be stored in a method called random. Okay, so we've got our generate random number. Let's have a look at what we're doing. So generating random number, and we're checking to see if it's 0. And if it is 0, we're going to run a method called batter out. Okay, so we better have an if statement. This is called a conditional as well. If randnum is equal to 0, then we want to do some stuff. So if random number is equal to 0, we want to, what was it? We want to run the batter out method. So batter out method is going to be run. Now that batter out method has not been written. We're going to go away and write it now. That's why it's underlined. We've also got an underline up here, a little error. The reason being, team 1 batted, is that equal to false? That is kind of an interrogation, a question, yeah, because we've got the double equals. If that's a single equals, it's assigning the value of false into the variable team 1 batted. We want to check if it's equal to false, not assign it the value of false. So that was the issue with that one equal sign that was there. Okay, so we're just going to fix that. Okay, so batter out is something that we need to go away and write. So we can go down here, and we're going to make our new minion. So down here, static. Now, is batter out returning anything? Is it coming back with a value of anything? The answer is no. So we're going to go batter out. It's going to be a void return. Static void batter out. Okay. Okay, so since we're writing something about batter out, we could put something on the screen to say somebody has got out. All right, so right line, a batter is out. Okay, now we want to progress the batting order. Okay, so the batting order for us is boom, 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 team 1 batters or team 2 batters. Now, it really depends on who's batting. So we can use the batting team to say whether or not we're updating team 1 batters or team 2 batters, or we could use the Boolean. If team 1 batted is equal to true, then obviously we're not updating that list. So there's a couple of different ways we can do it, and 2 different programmers will do it 2 different ways. So what we are going to do is we're going to go boom, boom, boom. If batting team is equal to 1, so if it's team 1, we are going to update the team 1 batting list. So team 1 batters equals team 1 batters minus 1. Cool. So storing in the variable team 1 batters, we are going to store the value that it already has minus 1. So if it's 10, it's going to minus 1 and it's going to store 9 in there. So we're decrementing team 1 batters. Okay. And we can do else if batting team is equal to 2. It's equal to 2. It's going to be team 2 batters. That gets updated. Oh, minus 1. Now, there is a shorter way of doing that. We can go team 2 batters minus, boom. So we can do the variable name minus minus. You could also do plus plus, boom, boom, like so. And that will increment it, and that will decrement it. Okay, so you can do it the long way, which is nice and clear, or the short way, which is nice and quick. So since we're doing batter out and we've progressed the batting order, we also want to do these checks, and we're going to do them inside the batter out method. Okay, so in here we're going to go, okay, team 1 batters has been progressed. We're going to check and see if it's progressed to the point where we need to be worried. So team 1 batters, if team 1 batters is less than 1, i.e. if it's equal to 0, we're going to do something. We're going to, team 1 batted is going to be equal to true. They've batted, they're all done. Boom, boom, boom. I think that's all good. And we need to do the same for down here as well. Okay, so team 2 batters, we need to check if team 2 batters is less than 1, and if that's true, we need to set that to true. Now that's important for the while loop, because team 1 batted and team 2 batted. If they're both true, this while loop will not run, i.e. it's not going to generate random numbers after the game is finished. Okay, so that's why that's important, and it's important for us to set team 1 batted to true when they finished, and team 2 batted to true when they finished, so the while loop won't inadvertently get run. Okay, so once team 2 have batted, it's game over time, and we're going to run our game over method. Okay, so boom, boom, boom. That is the end of batter up. Don't get your self confused and put methods inside other methods. That won't work. Static void game over. Okay, so game over, we're just going to do a console display where we say game over, and we can also display the scores. Console.writeLine. So we're going to go team, let's go team 1, which was team 1 name, boom, 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 team 1 name, and then we'll include a space, scored, and we're going to do team 1 score. Team 1 score. Now we likely need to convert that to a string, and we're going to use a method called toString, which is a nice little method that we don't have to write. Converts numbers to strings so we can print them out. Easy peasy. Team 1 scored that, and then copy pasty. We don't like writing code. And team 2 name, they scored their score. And that should be good. So game over is going to display some text as well as the scores, so we can see who won. And if you wanted to, you could do a comparison with the numbers in team 1 score and team 2 score, and you could say which team won and all that kind of stuff. One thing that I neglected to do, after team 1 have finished batting, we need the batting team to be equal to 2. Okay? So team 1, the batting team is set as equal to 1. There it goes. Batting team set is equal to 1, and we've progressed it to 2 so we can tell which team is currently batting. Now we haven't used that yet, but we're going to use it now, because what we've done is we've done this check and we've done all of this stuff over here. We've written all of that kind of stuff. What we haven't done is this stuff down here. Okay, so what happens when we score some runs? So if random number equals 0, batter out. That's all good. Else, the random number is going to be either a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. So it's a score. It's a run. And we want to do some things with that. So we need to know if batting team is equal to 1, then we're going to update, actually, why don't we just go, we'll go update score, boom, 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 which we haven't written yet, and we'll go and write that now. We'll do it after batter out. Static void update score. It's not returning anything, it's just updating the score for us. So if batting team is equal to 1, we want to update the score for team 1. So team, now we're going to get a bit fancy here. Team 1 score equals team 1 score plus, now we need to plus the value that we got from the random number. Okay, so we're going to learn about something called a parameter. Yeah, so boom, 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 where are we? Generate random number. generate random number, there's the while loop. Okay, so if the random number is 0, we're doing this, else we're updating the score. I need access to this random number, okay? It's declared, its first declaration, the first time we see it is inside this main method. I can't see it outside of that main method, okay? I can't access it unless I'm inside that main method, which is why I put all of these variables up the top, okay? Because I can access them from anywhere in the class if they're declared at the top. But if they're declared inside a method, like this one is, I can only access it inside the method. But I can do something quite clever. I can pass that value using a parameter. So I can pass randnum to the update score method. Okay, so we've got random number being passed through as a parameter. So what we need to do, why there is an error, is we need to update score to tell it that there's a parameter coming in, and it's of type integer, and we're going to call it score. Now you'll notice that this parameter and this parameter, the name doesn't match, and they don't need to match. Okay, so I'm going to refer to updates. I'm going to refer to it as score down here. So if batting team equals 1, score equals 1 plus score. Yeah, it's important that you refer to it in the same name here. Okay, so we should be getting that in. We should be updating it. That should work. Let's see. So we're updating the score. Is there anything else we need to do? Something else. Here's my thing. Update score back to generate random. So we should be in pretty good shape. We've got no errors showing at the moment. Let's give it a try and see if it runs. Okay. So it looks like we're getting a lot of zeros. But calculated risk scored 303, team scored 0. So it's working-ish, but there's something amiss. I'm going to have a little look. Okay, I figured out why. It was just team 1 getting scores, and that's because of this. The update score only does it for team 1. I kind of got so excited about that being done that I didn't do it for team 2. About scored, blah, blah, blah. I've also added a couple of write lines enabled me to test what was going on. I'll show you what. I'll just get rid of this for the moment. So this is what was happening. And so what I did is I put in a few write lines to show what was going on with a little bit more clarity. So when a batter scored a run, I had a printout saying how many they'd scored. I also, after a batter got out, I said how many batters were left. So you can see the runs of that are scored, and then the batter gets out, how many batters are left, runs scored, batter is out, and that continues on. Now we get down to, where are we? We get down to team 2 batters. I need to update that. So team 1's got got 0, so we switch. We're back to up to 10. So batter gets out, down to 9. Batter gets out, down to 8. And the reason that we're not getting the batter scored 2, the batter scored 5, is because of this here, where I hadn't included the second batting team update score. Okay, so the batter scored, and that's got to update team 2 score. And I'm also going to update that batter out business team 2, just to show that that's nice and clear. Alright, let's run that. Okay, cool. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. Okay, let's try this again. So, batter scored 2, batter is out. Batter scored 3, scored lots of runs, Lots of runs. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Switch. Batter scored, batter out. Batter's out. Goes out down to 0, and the game over. So the game over is working. The batter out, the switch teams, that's all working, but the score is not working. So let's have a look at that update score. So if batting team equals 1, the batter scored, and team 1 score is boom, boom, boom. Okay, so score is coming in correct. That's being passed through correctly because we're seeing a printout of it. That's idiotic. Nice, that should be team 2 score. Let's give that a go. I think that's probably what it was. 71 and 390. Let's run that again. Calculated 217, 174. Okay, so that's starting to look like it's working. Nice. So we now have a functioning version of Calculator Cricket, which explains when a batter is out, calculates the scores at the end. We could extend it, obviously, in a few different ways, like letting people do a coin toss to see who bats first, declaring the winner, and all of that kind of stuff. But the framework is all there. Okay.